Hi. Okay, so today what I want to practice on are, we're going to be using the same green colors, the citrus green, the sap green. I have a little bit of white that I'm going to use. This is titanium white, which is okay. I like the wicker white just a little bit better, but I don't have one of those open. So I'm going to use the titanium. It's open. And then I have my big bottle of floating medium. So let's go ahead and load up our plate first with that. And then I have a couple paintbrushes that we're going to work with. And the first one is a size 12. You can use an 8 or a 10 if you want, or even the bigger one, the 3/4, but I'm going to use the 12 flat brush with the chisel. And then I have the number 2 script liner, and that's the very thin brush. Okay, I'm getting my paint. This is my sap green. And really, if you have other greens that you want to play with today, that's good too. It's just I'm trying to do some videos where you can kind of see if you enjoy this type of painting before you get a lot of money invested in it. It's not terribly expensive right now. Some places have the multi-surface paint on sale. The brushes, you can always use coupons to get your brushes, but if you just have a few little brushes and a little bit of paint, then you can decide if you like painting this way. Now, if you have any of your practice sheets from our other lessons that I've been practicing on, keep those, because I'm going to show you a few little tips and tricks, and actually I want to do that first. So I also have my water. And the first thing I want to show you is when you get a new brush, there's always sizing in it, and it keeps the brush stiff. So you want to go ahead and put that in water, rub it across your rough area to get the sizing out, and then you kind of want to take most of the water out. You don't want to pull on your bristles, but you want to take most of the water out. So what you have is a nice damp little brush. So I'm going to go ahead and with some of these leaves that I have here, I don't have any, well, I have a little bit of white, but I don't have much white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dip. You can dip in some of your floating medium, you don't need much, and then a little bit of white. And so then I'm going to come here and I'm going to find some really pretty little leaves, and I'm going to stroke on the side to maybe make it look like it has some white in it. And you can do different strokes however you like. I have done a lot of paint by numbers from Plaid, and I love these really fine tipped paintbrushes. And you can kind of put things in here. And so you might not want to do this with leaves, but I'm just kind of showing you how this can accentuate, like flowers especially. If you have some flowers, this can especially be nice to accentuate some flowers. So remember that about this. The next thing that I want to work with, and I'm going to get a fresh sheet, is I basically am using gray paper. This is one of the things that when I was taking class to get certified through Dewberry U that my teacher taught me about. And the gray paper, it shows up just about all of your colors, and especially with the white. So you can kind of see it does show up. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit further so that you can kind of see better what I'm doing. So when you make a daisy, and let's make a green daisy just for the fun of it. when you make a daisy, this is one of the paint brushes that you'll use. You can also use your flat brush, but I'm going to show you some of the things you can do with this script liner before we get busy with other things. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit of green. And most of the time when you're painting, you don't want to use water. The script brush is one of the exceptions, and I'll show you when we do that. Then I'm just going to, you can kind of see, I have just a little bit of green, light green on one side and the dark green on the other. And so when you're making a stroke with this one, basically, you do keep your brush basically up, but I'm trying to make it so that you can see what I'm doing. So you want to press, lift, make a little tail. Can you guys see that? So I'm going to get a little bit more paint, a little bit more green, and so you're going to want to press, drag, lift, keep dragging just a little bit. So that's a really easy way to make just a stroke. If you want to make like a daisy, the daisy's I like the daisies. They're very unobtrusive, I guess is the word. You'll want to do what we call a clock. And basically, when you do a clock, you have a 12, you'll have a 6, a 3, and a 9. And so when you're thinking, and then you'll have your empty space here. So basically what we're thinking is when we're doing a daisy is we want to come down from the 12 to our circle. We want to come up from the 6, and you want to give yourself just a little bit of room in there because we're going to save this, and then in another session we're going to learn how to use our Pouncy. These are our Pouncy brushes. We're going to use those to put the center in. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit more paint, a little bit of the green, and then I'm going to do the 9 and the 3. Now, don't feel bad if you have to turn your page. It takes a lot of practice before you get to the point that you can just do it both ways. And I would suggest that you kind of work on doing it both ways. I have a little bit of a trouble because of my stroke. I have a little bit of trouble controlling my paints and paintbrush. So then we're going to go ahead and fill in. And basically what I do is I start filling in the middle of each of these 12 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12. And then, after you've done that, then you'll want to go ahead and start filling in between those. And you can make those kind of close to make it look like a daisy. Or you can put them just a little bit further apart if you like. And you kind of have to decide how you want your daisy to look. And I'm going to turn my page. And I only put one in between those. So I'm going to work on these ones. And you can see in my middle, I'm not being terribly careful that I make an exact circle, because once we work with the Pounce brush in another day or two, you'll see what I mean, that you're going to cover that up anyway, so it's not such a big deal. Okay, so these are strokes you'll want to practice. It's basically very easy. It's just put your brush down, press, pull up, and get a little tail. So it's narrower at the bottom than it is at the top. And you go ahead and practice that. If you have other colors, feel free to, use your other colors. Again, what I'm trying to do is just get you to the point that you can see if you really like this kind of painting and are willing to invest a little bit more money in paints and brushes and things. So I do want to show you this before we move on. I'm going to clean my brush out while I talk to you about this. This is the folk art one stroke value piece, and there's 10 pieces in here, and what you get is you get a 3/4 flat, a 3/4 scruffy, you get other flats, you get a 12, a 10, an 8, and I think maybe a 6 and a 2 in here. You'll get the script liner, and then you'll get 2 scruffies. You get a large scruffy and then a small scruffy. So this is a nice value pack if you want to get, and this is a student pack. I really love these brushes. I've had other brushes before in my life, and these clean up well. The bristles stay nice in the ferrule. This is the ferrule right here where it attaches into the metal. They're just really nice brushes, and they're worth the money. And if you take good care of your brushes, they'll last you a nice long time. Okay, so the next thing, we're still going to be working with this brush for now. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you have some water. And this is the one brush that you can use water with, that you will use water with. The other ones, we basically don't use water with them. We use the floating medium to keep them moist. But this is the one that you'll want to have water. And so I'm going to put my bucket of water over here, and I'm going to show you what we do. And this is what we call making an inky spot. We'll get a little bit of water. We'll come in from the side and just start rubbing, 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 rubbing. And you can kind of see that's getting nice and wet, and it's moving around really easily. And you might want to do that again. Get a little more water and keep adding, depending on how much inky painting you want to do. So once you're finished, then you'll want to go ahead and just pull that. Make sure that you have a nice line. You don't want it to be see-through, and you don't want it to be dark and drag. So that's what we're going to learn to paint with next. Now, this is one of those that you do have to keep. I'm going to push this up. You do have to keep your brush upright, and you'll want to use your little finger to go ahead and guide it. Your little finger is what guides this. And as you go around in circles, you'll want to get your brush point closer and closer to the paper. And you don't move your wrist with this. You move your whole arm. So, oops, and I got my finger in it. And you just kind of make curlicues, and you need to practice. If you have to lift your finger so you don't get it in there, that's fine. But your finger kind of guides the paintbrush where you're going. And you can also make some very nice little inky. If you've made a flower, you might want to make some inkies coming out of it like that. And maybe some straighter ones. Maybe some curly ones like that. So that's a good practice for today too. This is what I'm practicing on today, and I hope you'll join me. This is also what you'll do your signature with. And if you're doing painting, you always want to sign your work. Oh, excuse me, I was in the dust. I'm highly allergic to dust. And so you always want to sign your name. You can sign your whole name if you want. However you want to make your signature. This is just my signature style. So let's go ahead and practice with this today. And before we leave, I want to show you this brush, the flat brush, and we're basically going to be doing a daisy with the flat brush. So if you want to do a daisy with your flat brush, let me turn this so that I don't get my hands in paint. Again, you'll want to wet your bristles and then kind of dry them off a little bit. You just want a little bit of dampness in your brush. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the green and work it in. And I've made my puddle there, which wasn't the smartest idea. And then I'm going to come over here and get just a little bit of the dark green. And this is what you'll want to decide if you're making colored daisies, those Gerbera daisies, which color you want to be dominant, which color you don't. You can do a half and half, but I'm not going to do a half and half today. I'm just going to do the greens because those are the colors we've been practicing with. Now, you can also decide if you want the dark color to be in the middle or the light color to be in the middle. So depending, I'm going to have the dark color be in the middle of my daisy. So I want the top to be light green. So I'm going to start with my dark green. And in order to do that, I'm going to put my brush down, kind of push a little bit. And as I get to my center, I lift up. Now I need just a little touch of floating medium because that did not float real well. And you want it to be a little bit like butter. So then I'm going to do my 6. And again, I turned it so that the dark is going to come into the center. Let me do that one over. That went nicer. And then I'm going to do the 9. And then I'm going to turn it so that I can do the 3. And again, don't feel bad. You'll see a lot of painters, especially on the one stroke, they can just do them all ways. And if you practice, you probably will too. I have tried, and I think it's because of control. I'm very happy that I can control the brush. After my stroke, I'm just really happy I can control the brush. Okay, and you can see, you can start filling these in. You won't need as many strokes with your flat brush as you do if you're using your script liner. So that's another thing to consider. This will also make a bigger daisy for you. So I'm pushing, and you can make some smaller ones, and you can just keep doing this around. So that's the other thing about the flat brushes. When you're loading them, you want to make sure and get that nice chisel at the top. Let me pull this up so that you can see. You want to get that nice chisel at the top, and it's almost like a knife edge. And then your paint's loaded. We try not to get into the ferrule with our paint. We try to keep it about 3/4 of the way up, leave a quarter clear. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But the nice thing about the chisel is you can do a lot of strokes with the chisel. You can make grass, and you start on the entire chisel, and then you lift the front end up and just drag with the back end, and you'll get the most beautiful grass. Okay, now we've already practiced these and their variations, but this is the other thing that we can practice on today with our flat brushes, is just making grass. How pretty is that? Oh. So go ahead and practice with both of these brushes with your script liner. Do your daisies, do just lines if you like, because we can, get out one of your old practice sheets and start tracing some things, putting in some, once we do flowers, you'll see what I mean about putting in some lines and things. So those are things you can practice with today. And then, of course, practice with your 3/4. You can do it with the big 3/4 flat or the very small. And it's good to practice with all of them. We even have a size 2 flat brush, and it's a little harder. It's very hard to double load one of the 2s, but you can do it if you're very patient, and then practice with that also. But have fun today. We're just practicing. I hope you've enjoyed this segment with me, and I hope you join me again. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Okay, this is a side note for the next time that we get together to paint. You can see I have all kind of fluffy brushes and flats. I have 3 of these nice big mugs. That was a gift from someone. So next time you'll want to have some kind of a scruffy brush, and the scruffy brushes you can see, and we have different sizes. There's also my small one's out in my 3-season room, but these are just, they're not as, you can't get a chisel like you can with the 3/4 flats, any of the flats. They're more open, and we are going to open them up when we paint. So next time we get ready to paint, I'm going to ask that you have some of these, at least one of them, and maybe the medium size would be the best size for you to start with, and this is a size 1/2 inch. And I'll show you how to work with it, how to clean it, and you use this different, you don't get this wet. But also keep your paper from today, because I'm going to show you how to pounce the center of a daisy. And we pounce sunflowers, we pounce lots of different things. There are different flowers that we even pounce. So if you're ready to get one of these, if you're liking what we're doing so far and you get one of these brushes, yay. If you like the entire set, I don't remember how much these are. I'll try and find it and put a link in the description at the bottom so that you can kind of find this if you want to. And yeah, we're going to practice with this one next time. This one's really a lot of fun. There's lots of things we do with this one too. Okay, thanks. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.